We should be live, right?
Yay!
Excellent. Hey, everybody. How's everybody doing? This is Undercover Dumpster Fire, as always, on Sunday night. Awesome. I've got, as always, former firefighter and now therapist / actor, Willy, who I've got to bring up real quick. Willy, I'm pretty upset. I think I'm mad at you. I don't know if I'm allowed to be mad at you for this, but I'm going to say I'm mad at you. So I coach football down here too, right? I coach high school football. And we have spring training right now, so I'm out with the guys for spring training. And one of the kids apparently watches us on here, and he only watches because of you. He says, "Oh, Willy is so cool. He actually wants me to FaceTime with you so he can talk to you."
Oh man,
he's now getting benched for the season. He won't be ever playing on the team ever.
Hey,
but
nope. Yeah, we'll switch it around. We're gonna work this angle, man. We'll get him some more playing time.
Yep. But I promise him at some point we're gonna do that. So you have a fan down here.
What's up? Yeah, that's cool.
And now back for a second time, and we'll probably be seeing him a lot more. I call him KetoFiveO. You can call him whatever you want, jerk, idiot. I don't care. But also known as KetoFiveO. Just an awesome guy. You heard the story last week. If you haven't, you need to go back, look at it on YouTube. He has been through it. He has done it. And not only has he now done the journey on the other side, but he has done everything he can to help officers and first responders live a healthier, better life. Just an awesome guy. And we got to get into part 2 and talk about this journey some more that we didn't get to finish up. But I think he may have a couple questions for us first, but we'll find out. You never know with him. You never know what's going through that mind. I'll tell you what.
Well, all right. First of all, fellas, thank you for having me. It is going to be a fun show tonight. I know last week I started off all serious, but you're talking high school football. I don't know if you know, I did play down in Miami Palmetto, #1 defense in the county, 1987. And I'd like to shout out those boys. And when you talk college or high school football and spring training, it's bringing it all back to me, you know. But so now I got my question. Actually, I was going to tell your boy, forget about Willy, dude. I played 1 year of college ball at Valdosta State. I got my bell rung too many times and saw the writing on the wall, and I went to Florida State for my education, which wasn't that much better of a decision. But hey, you know. Anyways, so I'm going to start off with Matt this week. All right, so a lot of us obviously have played sports, a lot of cops, firemen, first responders in general. What do you think of the concussion situation that we all go through? And now we're in this other profession where there is, especially if you're SWAT or something like that, and you have flashbangs or maybe there's gunfire and all that stuff. And over time, combined with the trauma, did you feel that as an officer? Compared to before you were a cop, has it increased? All right, that's sorry. Keep going on.
No, and you hit a sensitive subject in some ways on this one. First of all, hi Abby, thank you for joining us. So I played football, high school, college, some, and then semi-pro. You know the NPSFL, National Public Safety Football League that plays like NYPD. Yeah, I was on that. That in that league. Through high school and college, I had 8 severe concussions. In college, lost my scholarship due to a concussion. Yeah, that was back before they protected you with those kind of things. But anyway.
Sorry, it's not going to be a fun show. It's going to be a therapy show.
You messed it all up right from the get-go. Yep. Good job.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding.
And then I got into kickboxing and Muay Thai, MMA, that kind of thing. So my head has had a bit of a rough life. Matter of fact, I've had 2 neck surgeries. Last one I did was 2 years ago, and the guy that was doing my neck looks at it and says, "Man, your neck has had a very active life." Wow. It is what it is.
All right, so there is a correlation then with you.
So yeah,
he doesn't protect his neck.
Yeah, I volunteer with Copline. I'm a huge supporter of Copline. Love Copline, everything about them. And the founder, CEO of Copline is actually working very, very hard looking at CTE with first responders. And because obviously, like you said, a lot of us, and I think firefighters are the exact same way. Willy, tell me if I'm wrong, but most of you guys play sports and everything like that. That competitive team nature just comes with it. Like that's why you're drawn to these kind of jobs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the surfboards hit them in the head sometimes when they're surfing, you know.
Right. Which
I have a
way
funny story about that too, actually.
or is that way? Yeah, that's how we go.
uh, but I definitely think you're going to see a lot more looking into that. I've actually, they want to test me for CTE and go down that road, and I will eventually. I'm not
I
And
got a
there yet.
CTE
doctor.
is what now?
Let's see if I can get this right.
Just for people who don't
It's
know.
basically brain injury, like from the trauma, everything from, and I'm not going to do this well because I'm not an expert, but my understanding of it is everything from getting your bell rung to concussions to even being in gunfights with the sound can cause rumblings in your, like, I guess the vibration in your brain that can cause damage. And you've seen it now. The NFL is kind of brought to light years later than they really should have. See, the Will Smith has a movie, Concussion. I think that's what it's called,
Oh,
and that is a very good movie to go see, actually, to kind of reference the whole thing. But unfortunately, because of all this, it can cause things like early dementia, Alzheimer's, early onset Alzheimer's, and your personality to falter. And then I think there's some correlation with PTSD that can impact it as well.
it gets bad. Yeah, I have
Yeah.
clients that have TBI and PTSD.
Okay, I think that's the same thing, isn't it? I
Same.
think you probably, but it's some kind of, like, I can't. You don't remember what it's called. Like, I know it's CTE, but I don't remember what it stands for. Um,
Yeah,
it's
I don't
something.
know.
Exposure is the last one. Traumatic exposure, I think, or critic.
Oh,
I
okay.
can't get it exactly.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. But I think, yeah, I definitely have seen people. I have clients that have TBI and PTSD, and it's tough because there's some there you can tell there's some wiring that's not quite the same,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's harder because it's not as you can't like strategize your way out of a lot of the reactions and stuff.
And
You relying on your thinking, and sometimes that's what's impacted. So there's
that's
a
what
lot of
falters.
reactions that don't make sense.
Yeah, it's scary. I mean, I'll be honest. That's one that scares me a little bit because it's like that's not something you definitely want to be diagnosed with by any means.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I do know a couple of doctors that are friends of my world that are looking at that as well. So maybe we can connect a group of us, and
Yeah.
maybe there's something we can do to, I think it's something to be looked at. I guarantee it. I mean,
yeah.
I know all the guys I play with, and we all play ball or something. We're banging our heads into something or each other, right? So,
Exactly. There's always
Yeah.
something to bang your head into.
Well,
and
on the
heavy
fire
metal too, right?
side, yeah, people get hit in the head quite a bit on the fire side. I gotta say, because I've had
I bet
colleagues.
so.
Myself, I didn't, but I've had people who were, doing overhaul after fires and pulling stuff down and
Oh
like
yeah.
drywall and whatever, and having stuff fall on their heads and being, knocked out. And those are, of course, job injuries, but they're also like over time. It's have a few of those. They
Yeah.
compound.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Sorry, I started laughing because I thought of my next question for the fire boy over
Yeah.
here. So,
He
my
prefers
question
hose
is,
dragger.
so
Hose drag,
as you're
hose dragger, and what was
wait,
no?
as you're hitting your head, getting
Thank you,
into your
Roscoe.
fire truck, right? As you're hitting your head, how do
Yeah.
you decide? How do you decide really who's driving on what shift? Because recently we had a guy get fired here because he was driving a fire truck with a suspended license, actually crashed or got hit by a train. The I got it. This is a joke, but the Bright Line train down here is undefeated. Why do they keep messing with that sucker?
Yeah. Right.
Hey, I'm going to interrupt real quick. Hey, Shipman is so glad to see you on here. Speaking of another incredible officer, he's just commenting about PTSD, and he is right on the head on that one. Exactly.
That's cool.
I just want to give a quick shout out. All right, sorry about that. Go on.
No, you're good. Yeah.
We're talking about fire trucks crashing into trains.
That's why I interrupted with law enforcement. I'm not letting some
I
firefighter tell the story. Come on now.
Yeah, I personally never crashed into anything other than one time I broke a light on a ladder truck because I backed in. I was trying to do a 12-point turn in the dark, and I broke it on a tree branch. Whatever.
Did you even
the
know it?
maintenance guy was mad, But other than that, nothing crazy. But yeah. What's your question?
No, I was gonna say, How do you decide who's actually driving the rigs?
Oh,
You know?
yeah, I was assigned as a driver operator after I
Okay.
got promoted from it's an engineer. So it's somebody's job every time. And it's usually somebody who's been there a little while and they're trying to promote. And it's
Okay.
and
Step
sometimes it's
step
just
up, kind of.
yeah, it's a step up because you need to know how to run the pump. You need to know the area.
Right.
You got to already know tactics and stuff and where to park and all your machinery. And so you can't be
Okay.
new.
How
But sometimes
stressful
they
is it
make the new
driving?
drive too, though. So it's
So beginning of the shift is like you're driving Willie and Matt's freaking hose guy or shotgun,
yeah,
or is it
you're
you
riding
run into each
backwards.
other trying to decide? You know?
Yeah, the person in the passenger seat front is always the officer. So whoever's they're in charge,
Okay.
and and then you're driving or chauffeur is what they say sometimes. Like I'm just
Okay.
chauffeuring to a fire, but just
I
taking them
know,
for a
right?
drive. Yeah.
Okay.
We're
No,
gonna
I
go on a
never knew it
cruise.
because you see a whole
Yep.
carload of guys sometimes, and I don't know how the hierarchy works in there. You know?
Yeah,
But
that's it.
I
Yeah, you get
okay.
promoted. I had to actually sit in every single piece of apparatus with my eyes closed, and my tester would be like, emergency brake, and I have to touch it. And if I didn't touch it, I got it wrong and I failed. So I
Oh
have to go
wow.
through
Okay.
Are
like
you
8
joking?
different pieces. Like you have to know it inside and out. And
That's
so
why I wasn't a
address.
firefighter. That would make
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, you got to recall addresses like,
Oh, yeah.
where is this at? And they'll just tell you, and you have to tell them like where it is. It's a lot.
Wow.
It's stressful, but
Wow.
it's really cool for like 5 minutes because you show up and you got to
Yeah.
hurry up and do everything, and then you did everything, and now you're just standing around. You just what else
Okay.
they wanted to
I-
do.
that would be just too
Anyway,
stressful. Like I could not drive. Like that would number one. I would never get to the fire. We would crash into something. That's a guarantee.
yeah.
I and the stress for driving one of those trucks. Yeah, I couldn't do it.
It's
I'll say it
stressful.
right
You
now.
got. I mean, some of those like ladder trucks be like 1.5 million,
Boom.
and they're giving
Well,
it
that
to
doesn't help.
me to drive as fast as I can make it go with safely. So
That's gotta be an awesome feeling, man. That's a big rig
it's
right
fun.
there, boy. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
cool.
those are fun. I mean, it's just like being a big kid in a way. Obviously,
Yeah.
there's the seriousness of going on, but like, there is a like a real true childhood dream coming true when you're driving a big rig and you're heading to a fire and people need you to show up and do your thing, and then you do it, and it just makes you feel good that you're helping.
Yeah.
Somebody. It's usually random strangers. I mean, if you're in a small town, some people, but usually it's just whoever called 911, just like you guys know how that goes. Um, but yeah, it's a
Yeah.
fun job. I miss that. I miss driving fast. I miss the air horn. Be like,
Yeah.
just, honking at people. Anyway.
Nice.
Man, the first time I got to drive a police car when it was legit, not when they were making me do it in training when it wasn't legit, and I'm like, I can't believe I'm not, and I'm not allowed to, but I am because they need people to bring back the fleet, right? You're doing all that stuff.
Yep.
But the first time I legitimately could drive it and I was like, wow, it was badass. It
Yeah.
was a cool.
Oh yeah.
And my mom had
Yeah.
cars, but for me, it was like, because it was a goal. You were trying to get there, and you finally got there.
Yeah.
It's a cool
Yeah.
moment, man.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
spend all that
Plus the
time in the
intersection.
academy driving it fast and doing all these things. Like, man, when am I going to get to do this for real?
I know, man. It's
Can't
cool.
wait. Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved riding with cops. My best friends were always cops, and this sounds terrible because on my days off, I'd be like, I'm going for a ride along, but ride along sometimes meant walking the beat too, though. It wasn't
Yeah.
Yeah.
always like we're riding, we're walking, around the corner, we're jumping fences, whatever. But I
Man,
loved riding in cop cars.
ride-alongs are great, man. I mean, that's a whole show
Yeah.
in itself. I mean, you want to talk about really meeting the public and the public meeting us. I mean, it's cool,
Yeah.
And I
You
I
have to
used to
do
always
that.
get stuck with them. Not, and that's what
Mhm.
they say, right? You get stuck with them. But I was like, hey, I'm gonna
Yeah.
ride the next 5 hours with this guy, and I'm gonna change his opinion of cops. And that's kind of how I looked at it.
Yeah. I know
So
what you're saying. I always tried to be real sensitive to the cops that I was with, and that's why I always knew them really well. So it was like I'd have some of them like, "Hey, if stuff pops down, this is how to get the shotgun out," like that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But and sometimes we'd be in buildings, but then other cops they would just like, "Hey, just stay in the car." I'm like, "All right, cool," like not a big deal.
man,
I don't want to put you in a weird spot.
my
So it's
shooting,
good.
my shooting actually had a ride along in the car, third car on the shooting that had a ride along with them. It was like a grad student from the local like criminal justice school. I'm like, man, you don't know. Like this is she probably quit and became a freaking doctor or something.
Yeah, that was
Probably.
it. Actually, I've
Yeah.
seen that happen. Come on.
Yeah, they're farming now. They
Yeah.
make milk. Yeah.
They live out in Montana, so
Milk-
far away
milk
from
and tea.
anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
All of a sudden,
Got to
I'm
find
jealous.
her and get her on the show, man. Would you remember that?
Yeah, that'd be a success
That would
story.
act-
Full
yeah,
circle.
exactly.
So
Yeah, we can even eat the cheese, like toast it and test it.
Nice.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
All
Yeah,
right.
man.
yeah, that was
Now-
it. My two long ass questions for you, but those
yeah,
are good,
you
man.
totally killed the mood again. I can't believe you do that, man.
Yep, we'll bring it back.
All right. So last time we talked a lot about your career and obviously the shooting and the stuff you
Right.
went through. And we started to touch on after the shooting, a little bit of the spiral, the going down, and the negative before you could turn it into the positive. And so I really want to get into start to turn yourself around, and then you developed these KetoFiveO and Campers, which are two outstanding organizations that their only function is to help guys, first responders, particularly law enforcement, live better lives. Like I think right before the show, we were starting to get into a little bit. One of my biggest complaints, and the job drives itself towards this. I get that, but the lifestyle. Law enforcement's worse than firefighters in this case, and I will never repeat that again. We're not going to be able to record this episode because it's got to go. But we get a tendency we eat like crap, like especially detectives. I swear, detectives are the worst when it comes to eating healthy, and then obviously drinking on top of that, and just that whole downward spiral when it comes to your nutrition. And the problem is when you start eating like that, and I'm going to let you take over, but it affects every part of your life very quickly. So I kind of just want you to go into, what got you motivated to do this and some success stories, everything you've got. I just want to hear about because it's phenomenal.
All right, so you see me moving around a lot. I'm actually going through a Lyme disease episode. That's one of the things that turned up in all this testing I've been going through. Real odd inflammation that happens in my body if I really kind of wear myself down, which is my immune system, or I'm taking on too much. Maybe I'm a new environment. We're down here in South Florida visiting family. It's toxic down here. It's stressful, because it's trauma central. I'm in ground zero. So it just affects you. And then, you throw in some chocolate chips, maybe with some peanuts and, so that's why I'm making a little bit. But yeah, back in, I think last time we'd already gone through, me being 250 pounds, and then really battling what should I do about my weight without going down the heart surgery route. And I guess, once we started camping, we got into, I think I finally went carnivore. I lost all the weight, of course. But one of the things I realized when I was going through that journey, I was helping people. People would walk up to me and say, man, how'd you lose the weight? And yeah, you say what you say, but I had to really get their attention. And some of the things I was really attacking in the beginning was just basic sugar and what that does and how many things it hits in your body, like cocaine and heroin, hit the one stimulant in your brain, and sugar hits 8, and it's a long-term addiction thing you have with it. It's a dirty little sucker, right? And you crave it more. Like you'll quit heroin. I've quit drinking, but you know what? I still have that little, I'm still chasing it. That sweetness, even 6 years later, man, it's crazy. And, and it hides in different forms. It hides in breads, hides in pastas, it hides in your fast food. It hides in, even you get sausages and you look in there, there's high fructose corn syrup in there. There's all kinds of sweeteners to make that crappy meat taste better. So, I started really looking at all kinds of stuff like that and telling guys like, dude, don't eat that, eat this, go to certain restaurants. You can order 4 freaking patties for $1 each, and they'll throw cheese and stuff on it. And instead of getting all the buns, I started just coaching guys and, guys started losing weight, started nicknaming me KetoFiveO. It's kind of catchy and it's funny, 5-0 guy combines with keto. And it kind of, I started helping dispatch and, Rutgers girls, and it was like getting kind of successful. And my wife's still at the whole time. She's like, I don't know, man. Now you're going more meat than everything in moderation, and here I am just eating a steak. I go, I don't know what's going on. It's like I was turning into a werewolf or something, Well, I was, because my testosterone in 2019 was like
Skyrocketed.
389, and then now it's I think it was 789 or 786 last time we measured. It's doubled.
Yeah.
And I aged 6-7 more years. It's insane. And it was no drugs, and so I'm sitting there like, I'm howling at the moon. I was looking the other day. I was like, oh, make sure my wife better watch out.
Yeah, you had a buzz cut yesterday, didn't you? I'm confused.
Yeah, you just ate a
grows
little bit,
fast.
and
Yeah.
But and pretty much the mind got sharper and got a little bit more faster at working at things and trying to problem solve and just get more motivated with different things. And I know we got to the last part when I thought I was doing really well, and then the guy rolled up in the golf cart and was like, "Take your flag down." I lost my shit, and we ended up turning that into something. It was kind of crazy because we stayed in that campground for 8 days, and people were like, "Get out of there! I would never freaking stay there." Blah blah blah. And I'm like, I'm going to be an irritant. And we stayed 8 days, and everything I had, every police thing I had in that trailer, coffee cup, business card, T-shirt, I put out front. The tablecloth was my police blanket. The chairs covers were police T-shirts, honoring all my fucking brothers and shit. It was fucking awesome. Looked like a thin blue line sale going on. Can't have a flag. Well, what are you gonna do now? So
the monument.
And then,
movement. Yeah.
and these old cops that were actually camping there walked up to me and go, "Yeah, last week they told me to take my flag down." I'm like, "Bro, this is And then it snowballed, and put it out there, and the news station did a story on it. Blaze Gomez at Channel 12 came out. It was kind of cool. She hid, drove in, and was filming all these different flags and stuff. And I'm like, man, this is crazy. And she's totally pro cop, so it was awesome. And they put it out there. The local radio station came out and interviewed me. Shout out to, I think it's like Big Frog or something out there in New York. They're like, let's talk to the cop. And I became flag guy all of a sudden. I'm like, no, I want to be KetoFiveO. I want to be flag guy. They're like, that's it. Your hashtag flag guy. Dude, you'll make millions. You could just sell thin blue line flags. I'm like, which is still an option, by the way. No, I'm kidding. I got this flag. No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to do that. So it was just like this, crazy situation. And then I got suspended, and I was like, man, I got suspended too from our camping group. So I couldn't go back to the campground for 2 months, and I couldn't even access the database. I couldn't make reservations out ahead of time. They just locked me out. So I put that out there, and then all these cops started canceling their memberships. And then corporate said they were calling me because they actually did another news story follow-up. It was insane. I'm like, man, remember I was just trying to camp, help cops and first responders. So it started snowballing. We went back to Niagara Falls, and then I find out on Twitter or somewhere, hey, they're having a rally for you back at that campground. I'm like, really? A rally? Cool. I've never been. Oh, man, I got to drive back 6 hours. So I drove back 6 hours for my own rally. So, of course, we meet at Tractor Supply. And there's like 50, there's 50 trucks out there and cars with thin blue line flags, American flags out there. I guess this local conservative group out there. And I don't want to throw them out there, but they came out. And they were just like, this is BS. And they made me number 2 in a parade. And we had flags everywhere. It was crazy. And there's 4 towns in that area, I guess, were real liberal anti-cop. We didn't go to the campground first. We went to these 4 different towns with a parade. We locked up town. We were getting flicked off. Traffic got all congested. We were just a nuisance, man. It was so much fun. Getting flicked off and everything. It was freaking awesome. Yeah. Go to the campground, and as we're pulling up, New York State Police block us in. They stop. So now New York State Police is coming out to all the cop supporters and stopping us. Yeah, it was a weird-ass scene. They had their mask on. It's like a freaking third world country. And they made us, because we were blocking the road, they made us turn around. So we had a rally at the little parking lot over there, and a bunch of people came. And we were going to go in that place, man, and all the cops that already had hit, they had people sneaking in there with their rigs, and they're all going to put their flags up. We're going to have like 50 flags put up at the same time. It was going to be epic to see what they were going to do, but that didn't happen. Good things happen. I was in the back of a truck, all pissed off, it's just freedom. And somehow I said, we should start cops and campers, go to pro first responder campgrounds. Let's get together and have some therapy instead of this fucking political bullshit. Right. And I started a page. Hey, I'm starting a Facebook page, and it just started growing. And camping, got a lot of first responders and military that like to camp, so I started putting together a little something, and then campground said, hey man, that cop that got suspended, bring your rig, your flag, and your RV and your truck. You're staying with us. So we got those 2 months covered in upstate New York by campground at Cape Vincent. Obviously Spruce Row. We had one in Camp Chautauqua in Stowe, and then we had one way up in Ogdensburg where that prison is, right? I mean, these crazy towns I never even heard of, and all of a sudden we're staying for free like MVPs, and local cops are coming out, right? And they're handing me these challenge coins. They're like, hey man, thanks. This is like, and then that's how I ended up starting that whole challenge coin thing.
There you go.
And I was like, man, I'm going to start giving these out. We need to start having rallies, and we went to Ithaca, New York, and Scott Sherwood, who owns a campground, he was the first one to reach out to me and say, hey man, come on out. And I said to him when we were hanging out, hey, let's do a rally next year. We'll send it out. We'll invite a bunch of cops and whoever else wants to come. And he goes, let's do it.
Yeah.
So in 2022, we came roaring up. I was buying T-shirts with every last dime I had. I go, this is going to be epic, And then the guy that helped me do Cops and Cabins, actually, he was the one that actually did it. I called him and go, hey, man, would you want to do a little documentary on this? Like a little 15-minute, like, this is what it's all about. So he's like, yeah, I'll come down and I'll film it. So he comes down and he starts to film it. Turns into a 30-minute documentary because there was just so much good footage from it. And that's on YouTube. I sent out some clips recently about it, about, some of the cool things and it all came from that flag incident. And, and now we have one every year. We're having our 4th one this summer in July. And what I've been able to do with the KetoFiveO, I've been able to thread metabolic health into it now. Because one of the campfire things is, it's all trauma, right? It's a trauma dump. But what do you do now? Let's work on some of the resolutions or some of the things we can do to help compromise that, right? And a lot of that is whether it's yoga, stretching, wilderness, hiking, fishing, eating right is one of the major focuses I try to get guys to do. And eventually it will be alcohol. And it will be if the guys got to go for some special therapy with mushrooms or if they got to use THC or they got to use CBD to sleep. We're going to start pushing some of that stuff to get these guys at peace and calm down the central nervous system that's been freaking flying up for so long, and, guys make friends with another guy that fishes and now they're fly fishing buddies. And, I don't like fishing. Well, I might like the guy, but doesn't mean I want to go fishing with him. So now he's got a guy to go fishing with. So it turns into a really cool event. We have an early day on Thursday. And we just have a bonfire, guys sit around. We got New York cops, Philly cops, which, it's really cool to see those guys trying to talk to each other. And we got like these badass New York cop women there. I mean, my mom, I can say that because my mom's a badass cop. So I can say cop women, I mean, it's just, I know them because my mom is one. So I'm like, damn, that shit's fucking, she is freaking tight, and it's just cool. And, they always don't come back every year. Sometimes there's a new thread of people that come through. Like one guy this year he didn't have a camper. Well, they rent them there. So you can get 2 campers. You can rent like a cabin. You can rent a tent, bring your own tent, bring your own, whatever you need. And there's a lake there to fish in, big pool. So now it comes Friday. So Friday morning, we got Vance Rowe of Yoga Rescue. He comes out. A lot of guys in first responder world might know him. He's a dispatcher. He was a police officer, had some real bad back issues, but now he's like a yoga freaking, and he works with actually Copline as well. Vance Rowe is his name. And
so you said the name is very familiar with me, so I'm wondering if that may be where the connect is.
It'll be his 2nd year coming out, but he does yoga at about, I guess, 10 o'clock, and I think we did 9. And he does yoga, and it's easy yoga for you to come out with your kids, and let's watch dad see if he can touch his toes, that kind of fun stuff. And there's giggling, and, and this year I'm bringing in coffee, though, before that. I'm going to get some coffee donated because I want to have coffee with a cop before the yoga. This is, let's get.
At least you didn't say donut.
No donuts.
Well, that's
that's a bad word in KetoFiveO's camp.
Yeah, that's about the worst word you can get right out there.
Meat donut.
There you go. Actually, that would be bad. Donut made out of bacon.
Like a meat donut,
I can handle that.
Well, I got some plans. One of these days, you were talking about playing football. Well, I used to go to the old pig bowls back in Miami when the county would play the city. and they had stuffed pigs everywhere, and it was a big thing. So I want to roast a pig at one of these events, one of these times. One of these barbecue guys going to show up, and we're going to do it right. But yeah, we have Vance Rowe doing yoga. Come noon, it's kind of like guys can go to a winery nearby if they want to do that kind of thing. We have rock painting for kids. We still want you to enjoy the camping experience. It's not like lined up with a bunch of events, you know. And then later in the day, we usually have, there's the big pool there. It's July. It's the week after July 4th because all the guys are usually working overtime July 4th. The guys I know to make that money. So come spend that money and relax the following weekend, you know. And it's usually not as crowded to travel. It's not as bad, you know, to book places. So we get guys there, and Friday night's another fire. Usually, sometimes we do a movie, you know, up on the screen. They'll show like a kids movie that entertains them, and we sit around and talk some more. You know, I've tried to do DJ stuff. We end up talking, you know, and that's what it's about, you know. And then comes Saturday. Now, this Saturday is a big day. I know I'm yapping again. I'm sorry, but this is
you're good. You're good. You're good. Keep it going.
It's so much fun. So Saturday morning, you get up and you got Vance Rowe waiting for you. So if you party too hard on Friday night, you alkies, I'm going to come and knocking, and we're going to get your butts out there. And we'll do the coffee thing, coffee and bacon donuts. Now I got to work on that.
There you go.
Bacon,
we'll
do bacon nuggets or something. We'll do some.
All right.
I got it now. I got a good idea. Okay, so yeah. But then you can't do yoga on a full stomach. Remember, we're fasting, guys. We're fasting, except for the coffee. So you do the yoga, and then this is why I'm torn. I got guest speakers like Vance Rowe just hit 2,000 days sobriety, you know, and he's also doing the obviously the yoga rescue thing. So I think he's someone that'd be great to talk about things. And I also got Dr. Robert Kiltz of the carnivore world. He's a fertility doctor from Syracuse, New York. He's actually, I think he's up there in Rochester, actually, but he's got the Kiltz Clinic.
You posted a couple clips of his, did you not?
Yeah, so this dude is awesome. So what he did was, sorry, somebody with a freaking loud engine coming by. So he's always supported first responders, and he started coming to my event last year, and he's hardcore carnivore. It's beef, salt, butter, and water. That's all this dude does. But he started figuring out his fertility clinic as a 60-year-old doctor, maybe he's in his 50s, that all his paleo patients were starting to get pregnant. And he's like, what is this? Because he was a vegan, he tried paleo, you know, he was trying all these different things like a lot of people have in this world. It's just not crazy people that were, you know, drunk cops that started eating meat that became like me. There's a whole bunch of vegans and vegetarians and really healthy people. So he was like, all right, let me look into this. And then he started getting people to go into keto and carnivore, and the numbers went crazy with the amount of pregnancies that were happening with people, you know, because he got them off the processed food. Yes. Yeah, I mean, if you're a sick person, you're not going to be able to breed. I mean, your body's not designed to do that. I mean, you might, but you're going to get a bad offspring, or, you know, you're going to struggle, or, you know.
There's always the meth people that can have babies somehow. So I don't know how to explain that, but... You know what I'm saying? The people that are like on drugs, and why do they get pregnant? You know, they're just, you know, like, what? How do you really even take care of yourself when you have 6 babies?
Yep.
Yeah, there's multiple probably reasons for that. They got strong DNA too, probably. You know,
it's true. Will to survive. That's what that is. It's like, we will survive. This meth addiction.
Yeah. So Dr. Kiltz comes out, man. He scares everybody with carnivore, but it's awesome because he asks you, plants are trying to kill you. You know, all plants have defense mechanisms, you know, and you're not designed to eat a plant. You're made of meat and muscle, right? So you should be eating protein and fat because pretty much that's what you're made of, right? We're not made of anything plant-based. So that's what he thinks. So, and he's seen so many people healed. So he comes out and does his thing. And then we have the cornhole tournament. All right. So now the band that's playing later that night runs a cornhole tournament. So everyone signs up. And the minute they know they're playing with me, because it's 2-on-2, the guys already know they're losing. You can already see their shoulders go down. Because the last 2, I just can't. Come pressure time, I can't do it, you know. So
we just learned something new. You're also a cornhole guy. I had no idea. All right.
No, I wasn't. No, because I don't play except for that time every year. That's why I'm so bad. You know. So then it's kind of like a free for all. They have a tractor ride that comes by and they load up all the kids. It's for like a 15-minute tractor ride through the campground, and it's like this little break where all the parents can now, you know, And then the band comes. Taylor Made's played the band every year. And, a couple guys are cops, corrections. A couple guys are just regular awesome guys that support cops. They're part of the band. And they play like a 2-hour show of like Southern rock, and just they give away guitars, like raffles to the kids. And it's just, man, it's a home run, man. And,
cool.
it's just by the end of it, I don't have a voice, of course, and I'm exhausted. I'm crying because, oh my God, it's the same, it's just emotional by the end of it, and so, yeah, that's kind of what started happening. So now every year I got to keep going back to the first place that, invited us and started this whole thing. So that's always on the map every July. And then, like I said, we're still looking at Texas. We had a couple in Georgia. We've had one in Blue Ridge, Georgia, in Talona Ridge, which is beautiful, in Ellijay, Georgia. And that place was right on. I mean, it was awesome. They even turned all the lights in the whole place blue when we were there. So it was just...
Oh, no way. That's so cool.
I'm sure they'll do it for red for you guys. They did it for Christmas too. So
hey, nice. Yeah.
They got those left over from Christmas. They just turn them on.
Yep.
So, and it was cool. The time we were at the one campground, they actually had an RV show at the same time. So not only was it a combination of a bunch of cops coming to hang out, we had other cops visiting, checking out RVs. So I'm like, that sounds like a plan for the future, right? Maybe get a little combination with an RV company that wants to sell some RVs,
There you go.
But it just turned into campfires and stories, just the same thing like you would do. You're looking for therapy. I've looked for therapy. We all, hopefully a lot of people have looked for therapy in our profession, because if you find the right person, it's real therapeutic, and it saved my life. I've said it time and time again. I've cried about this guy, and he's freaking awesome. And that was my guy. We all have somebody, and it could be a coworker. I got cops that call me, like, I'm talking, but we just had a cop in a shooting, 4 of them, but one of the main ones that put 2 rounds in the bad guy, or 3 rounds or 4 rounds or 5 rounds. I don't know how many rounds. He didn't tell me. And, he's going back to work 3 weeks later, and I know he ain't ready to go back to work. But what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Short on manpower. What are you going to start just waving your hand around? I'm not okay to go back. And then it's almost like sabotage. It's crazy, man.
You never say that.
We're serious again now. Okay.
Hey, we're back.
We made it a while. We did pretty good, all right?
Yeah.
Yep. But I like that you said people need to find a right therapist, because I think it's a relationship, and, not everybody, you have to be willing to trust the person, and you already can tell if there's too many things that make you not trust them, that it's not going to be good. So if you can trust, I always say that to people, like, if you can trust me, I'll go as far as you need to go. But if there's something in the way, we got to talk about it. We got to figure that out. Usually they just leave, that's how it goes. It's like, hey, therapist is really strange, because you'll get clients, and then, maybe once or twice, and then they just disappear. And it's odd, but I think I understand it too, though, because it's like the most sensitive stuff that you're trying to get help with. And so it's weird to, to talk to somebody and then have that not be the person you want to work with. So now what do you say, and how do you say it? And, a lot of people just don't say anything, and they'll just zone out. But,
and Will, I think you talked about it before too, with like, that's a lot of the problem with therapists that are connected to the agency you work for. There's going to be a shutdown right out the gate.
Every time I've been able to craft an employee assistance program or some kind of peer support program, I always make it completely separate from job performance. There's the job performance, the the evaluations, the fit for duty, all that kind of stuff that's related to your job and can you do your job. And then there's support services. And it's separate, completely separate. Like, I don't do any mandatory referrals. I'm not reporting to anybody, unless there's a grant and there's dollars, but then there's ways to do that confidentially. I just wrapped up a 5-year grant in Colorado where that's how we did, completely separate. And people enjoy that. I mean, cops would call. I wish it was still going, because they still call, and I'm like, yeah, it's not free anymore, and I'm kind of expensive, but I will help them and we'll figure it out. But it's, there's a need for that, to like have support services completely separate from your job. And don't get me wrong, when I've had a lot of cops that were suicidal, a lot and like on the edge. But I also understand when I'm willing to go there with people and walk a really fine line between do they have intent or do they not? Because I know they have a plan already and I know they have the means. So all I need to know is, are you intending to hurt or kill yourself? And a lot of cops would come to me like that, and where they're like, I'm suicidal, but I'm not going to kill myself. But like any little thing could be too much.
Yeah.
Usually relationship problem, like shit's going bad at home, it's bad at work. Now I'm losing it. Or something goes on with the kids if they have kids, or financial stuff. So there's like circumstantial things going on that makes it worse, to try to it's a barrier. And so if we could
Right.
take barriers away, that's what we're doing here. We're just trying to, hey, hopefully somebody watches this and they're like, it's all right to talk about these hard things, and it's okay to go to cops and campers and like hang out at the campfire and talk about what's going on in my life, meet some people, and just get out of my shell, go somewhere and try to be social for once, not that you're not. Just I try to hide when I'm not. You
Yeah,
guys do that too?
I do that big time.
I feel
Like
like
that's
you do
that's
that.
the number one, and like my wife will call me out on it because in general I do this as it is. I have like this one circle. Like I'll let just about everybody get to this one circle, but then once you reach that point, there's no way you're going past that. Like it just will
Yeah.
not happen. And then if my anxiety is kicking in, anything like that, you'll see that circle go where I'll disappear completely. I won't return
Yeah.
calls. Like I'll shut down. I don't want to talk to anybody. It gets bad.
Yeah.
Do you feel it at
Yeah.
that point that you're silencing yourself? You see it
Oh,
coming on?
100%. Yeah, like because I'll actually like the phone will ring. It'll be somebody I know, and I don't have the ability to pick it up. Like it irks me just trying to pick it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like it gets to that. It gets really like
Yeah.
it's beyond frustrating because even like simple task all of a sudden
Yeah.
just blow me out of the water. It gets frustrating. Like I was telling Willie earlier, and I was going to do it towards the end of the show, but I'm getting ready to make contact with another therapist because I haven't gone to my like I had a therapist for a little while and she was actually retired, did it as a favor. Like I had such a connection with her that it was awesome.
Yeah.
Worked through things anyway. I couldn't keep bothering her after a while, so I moved on from it. Stayed in group therapy for a while, and then Will, you probably know this. I didn't realize group therapy a lot of times has a tendency just to dissolve. Like the group you're with will kind of, especially I guess with Zoom, they don't stick around, I guess, as much. So I hadn't been in any for a while, and I've noticed lately my anxiety kicking back in, and at times kicking my butt. So I'm getting ready to get hooked up with another therapist again, just to make sure I'm taking care of myself and not letting things get to a bad spot to where I was or anything like that. So.
Yeah, totally. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, maintenance. It takes maintenance, right? You got a truck or a car. Like you don't just do work on it once in a while. Like you should occasionally change the oil, like
oh wait, you're supposed to do that?
Tires,
Yeah.
And like same thing with your body, like change the oil. That might be your therapy, like change your tires. That might be your diet, like there's I feel like we do need maintenance. We do need like ongoing, and there's no switch like where you just switch this on and off and you're doing it all right or doing it all wrong. I feel like there's layers to this, like what you're saying, keto around the diet and your nutrition, like having a good relationship with food. People that are traumatized, what happens to your body. Like you're not hungry a lot of times because you're on that elevated state, or you had 4 monsters in the day, and so you're not, you're just ready to go.
Leave it alone, Willie. Leave it alone.
That's like a Freudian slip. Yeah, there's he's
it's
feeling guilty.
Zero sugar.
He's feeling guilty.
Let's see the ingredients. I'll show you how much sugar is really in there. It's all that fake stuff.
Yeah, well, okay.
Hey, what's
no
the
real sugar? Is
carbohydrates?
that better?
Yes. Well,
but that's perfect.
Talking about
it's
therapy,
6 carbohydrates. All right, it could be a lot
6
worse.
per how many servings? Okay.
It's just 1 can.
Okay.
1 can's a serving.
Okay. Sometimes they sneak it in there. There'll be 2
yeah,
servings. You're like, oh man, I ate the whole thing.
What do you mean? There's 52 servings in this can,
dude? I will
Like one
crush
sip and you're
Oreos. That's why I don't keep them in the
Ah,
house. I just you
me
can't do this.
too. Me too. Matt, do not bring
100%.
Oreos if you see
Okay.
me and
Speaking
keto.
of therapy,
Yep.
Next time you go for that cop roll,
I'm the
I'm opening up the
Oreo
whole thing
mutant.
right in front of
you know
Yeah.
what? You triggered some talking about therapy because my guy, the same. You know, when I had to leave this guy when I retired, yeah, I could have had insurance from the job and paid half my pension to cover the family when I retire. You know, because they take care of us, and then have to pay privately for it, or try to lean on workers' comp to continue to cover it for the rest of my life. But they want to settle, you know, because they just
Mhm.
want to cut the cord, get rid of you.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, man, I could keep paying this doctor out of pocket. We'll see how things go. You know, that's how it starts, you know, and get
Mhm.
ready to go. And then a couple months in, I'm losing weight. I don't need no therapy, you know. And then they say, you know, here's a check. We'll give this to you if you just want to settle. And I was like, COVID was coming. And I just settled it and bought a truck. I took the
Yeah.
payment. You know, I didn't.
That's kind of
Looking
like
back,
therapy.
looking back, I probably could have negotiated it for a year or so and just continued and then had more leverage. But with the COVID thing, I mean, I went and got that check and I had to sign through a door with they were already shutting everything down. I'm like, I need to get the truck quick, make sure this check don't bounce or something, you know. But you know
Yeah.
what bummed me out is that you just kind of cut that relationship off, and it's always this kind of like I never got this closure with him, even though I reach out to him now and
Ah,
then. It's not, we don't have like I can call him and be like, hey, what's up, you know,
Yeah.
Bert,
yeah.
you know, and it sucks. And then you got to
Yeah.
try to pick that up, like you were mentioning, trying to find another one. I don't know how
Mhm.
easy that is, you know. And what do guys do when they retire? In like my situation, that like the certain therapist that was working, you know, that's why we mentioned certain investments and maybe we can have besides what the department says, another
Mhm.
healthcare plan for us, maybe or something. I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
it was sad to
I
me. It's like
definitely.
losing somebody in a weird way, you know, because he
Yeah.
knew everything.
It's
You know all the shit
yeah.
I couldn't even tell my wife. So,
Yeah, totally. I mean, realistically, the person should have, like, ethically, they should have had sessions about ending the relationship at some level instead of it being like, "Bro, that's it," you know.
well, that was kind of
But
my fault. I was like, I'm out of here. You know, I'm
yeah,
taking my
but I
ball and
think
going home. Yeah.
the workaround is I did a bunch of this in Colorado and Michigan. I haven't done this in Florida yet. I haven't been in Florida very long. I've been in Florida a couple years now, so maybe we'll figure this out here. But I think I would recommend training cops to be peer counselors. And what you do is you then also require some clinicians, some therapists to be involved in that, to oversee the peer counseling, and that's a way that you can kind of break down some of the barriers between clinical and there's different schools of thought with that. I'm very open and self-disclose when it makes sense to the client. If you're a firefighter and I've been through something similar, I might draw on that and share it. Whereas there's other clinicians that won't share anything at all about themselves, like nothing.
Right.
Where I actually give my cell phone, and this I wouldn't give it to everybody, but I give it to cops, especially firefighters, first responders, military veterans that I already know. This is like the last thing that they will use, and they might just text like, "Hey man, can I get an appointment?" And that's actually them saying like, "I'm about to fucking kill myself, so can I
Yeah.
have an appointment?" And so I actually do a little bit more intentional connecting into their world
Yeah.
by using my phone and being more active because I think it's helpful. And I think you get that kind of clinician when they're used to working in a peer setting, when they either have some investment or they've already been a cop, a firefighter, a dispatcher, or something like that. Or they've just been around it enough to see like there's certain things you do need to tweak to make sure you reach the people. And one of them is access.
Right.
If it's just a 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, what happens on Saturday when you're sitting there like, should I just do this? And so like, I'd rather have a clinician give out a phone number and say, text me before you do anything than for a therapist to be like, nah, I don't do that. I don't give out my phone number because and then you need cop line, something like that. I mean, that's a good
Right.
segue into other alternatives. But I just think, as a
Yeah.
good therapist, you should be available.
And you brought on another thing there that would also be really, really good because a lot of departments now, at least large ones, like I know Charlotte, we had it where we had peer support through employees of the department. Problem is, if you're in that department, you're not gonna necessarily go to somebody that works it's
Yeah.
you're not gonna pee in your own backyard kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Totally.
so if there was more of what Eric was saying, if we could combine that, like a nationwide peer support group, so that you can call somebody on the other side of the country that's law enforcement, kind of like Copline, but Copline is designed more for when you're in that state of mind. That's not a good state of mind to be in.
Yeah, you're in the black, man. You're thinking about this is what else
your
is
mind's
there
going south.
can I do?
Exactly.
Whereas
if we had a peer support that you could just talk to, like when you're, and I say just have somebody you can reach out to more consistently. Not a therapist, but that would actually be really. And again, that would come down to a nationwide program for all of this, which would be
they're usually opposite departments and stuff. I've almost never just did one peer support team. It was like a regional thing or a geographical thing, where it's like, hey, you have 6 counties and you have all these agencies. Can we get a couple peer people from each place and train them? And I would run them through. There's actually a certification that people can be trained and certified as a peer specialist. And some of those are actually billable by insurance. Some of those interventions. Not that we would ever do that with cops, but I'm just saying, like, peer support, we got to think about it broader and bigger.
Absolutely.
And I do that with the military folks too. They already do it too. That's the buddy system.
Yeah.
Do you got a buddy, somebody checking in on you? That's a peer support. That's somebody else that's just paying attention.
The military does it way better than first responders.
I know. We got to take some clues from them.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't have it figured out totally yet, but yeah.
The buddy check, dude, that's one of the best things I've been doing. I've been sending these voice memos to just random guys that pop in my head. Just, hey, bro, I don't know why, but I'm driving down. I'm road in Alabama, and I'm thinking about that time that we, and they freaking love it. They always get back, dude. How you doing? And you don't know where they're at that point. Maybe that's why you're getting that little message to say, hey, this dude might be a little bit down. Maybe he's not. Maybe he just wants to bullshit with it and gossip or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Either way, cool.
Yeah. But you're talking about one of these things that these guys, when you're getting depressed, you really gotta look at is your diet. No, I'm just kidding. But really,
you're absolutely right, though. That's true.
I was talking about Lyme and inflammation, and when you're eating a bad diet, guess what also gets inflamed? Your brain. And if you have trauma and all kinds of head injuries, like we're talking, it's going to be inflamed, and your decision making, your choices are going to be bad. And now you mix in alcohol, and then lack of sleep, and then all the other stresses that we go through. No wonder we're time bombs and things go off the rails, And I was sharing with you a guy. This is big news. I know we don't have a lot of time, but I got to talk about this guy, Frank, right here. You see him wearing that shirt? I met him 3 years ago, and he was 240 pounds, and the only shirt I had was like a large. And I'm like, he was trying to do keto, and I'm, Frank, here, it's the only shirt I got. And, try to follow me. And he took off on his RV, and he retired and was like, see you later, And over the years, couple messages, and today I get a message. Dude, I'm down 70 pounds. The shirt effing fits, and he sent me the message. And that's it, man. He's looking all sweet and sharp, dude. I'm like, see, you stuck to it. You tried to change some things, and now he's feeling fantastic. And he's wearing my cool little shirts that I was like, man, that's an OG, man. That was like the first year where the emblem was a little bit faded and a little bit off. I'm like, oh, man, that's a good one, man. So it's really awesome, and the impact you can have on people. And I have Copline stickers and all the brochure every time I have that out there. I'd love to get that on my trailer, dude. I mean, we can make that happen. I mean, there's so much traffic that my truck and trailer get, and I think the Copline something on there would be awesome. We could do that.
Hey, I'll come paint it myself. Don't you worry about it. It'll look great.
Yeah, we just.
By the way, I'm not an artist at all.
No. It'll say, I don't know what it'll say.
Exactly.
I do a QR code. Throw, that's what I would do for peer support too. I would just have a little thing on the bulletin board somewhere, nonchalant, so people could walk by, because they won't stop and write it down, but they'll walk by and snap a photo real quick and get a website.
So if you call up, I mean, I've never called, right? And I think a lot of guys are intimidated. So what would actually happen if you called? Not to get into the weeds of it, but someone's gonna pick up some random person, or is it regional, or is it just
No,
crapshoot?
it's kind of international now, a
Okay.
little bit, but it'll be anybody in the country,
Okay.
and it'll be a former law enforcement will be retired. It is not recorded. It is 100% confidential. And it's kind of up to you what you want to share, what information you want to give. Like your name doesn't pop up, your phone number doesn't pop up. We don't know
Right.
any of it. It is literally we are there to listen.
Awesome.
That's pretty much what it is. We're not going to sit there and tell you, oh, well, you need to do this, you need to do that. None of that. It's man, I feel your pain, I hear your pain. Just talk, brother. Just talk.
Just help them figure it out, man. Let's figure this out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. You
No, that's
feel when
awesome.
you're heard. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
You're understood. They feel like you can move forward. You know.
How many times do we see that go into calls, right? People were in crisis over the dumbest things, but you don't know the history, right? You don't know everything else.
And that's just it. Like, I mean, and I've experienced it in my personal life, so I'm no different than anybody else. Where, you go off about the dumbest thing in the world, right? Being out of toothpaste. You go off because you're out of toothpaste. That is not what you're mad about. Not even close. God. But that's the boiling point right there.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So Nerf guns that's the thing for me, man. Nerf guns and getting shot with Nerf guns. I got trauma from that. I broke Nerf guns. And you know how many cops I know that broke Nerf guns? A bunch of us, I guess. There's something with cop kids and Nerf guns. Watch out. I mean,
yeah, I can see that.
It's a trigger. I don't know. It triggers me, boy.
Maybe we should invite Nerf to be we'll invite them in this.
I don't think that's going to happen too. Eric just cost us that sponsorship.
I know.
I think he challenged
them.
They need
a smashable one, Yeah,
exactly. Can you make one
that's
cop proof? Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the real question is, how many times you yell at your kid when he's got the Nerf gun if he's got his finger on the trigger when he's moving around? Because I actually did that with my kid, just instinctively.
Dude, I've done nothing but train my kids to be better cops than me, and I'm like, don't be a cop, but do it this way.
Exactly. That's
so, wait.
My kid will never be a cop.
I know the show's ending soon, but it wouldn't be right if I didn't have something for you. So hold on. So I still have my vest, all right?
Yeah.
I can still be a cop, on the scene, undercover, if you need me as a vice guy, just in case there's a producer hanging around late.
I'm just going to let you know right now, you're wasting your time. There's only one person on this Zoom right now that ever gets cop roles, and I'm telling you right now, it's not me. Okay, so for some reason, firefighters make really good cops on TV.
We get the bad guy roles.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah,
like I literally put in for this one movie, and the guy calls me up, and because I put in to be a detective, a homicide detective. I have some experience there, and he's like, "Hey, man, I really don't see you as a homicide detective. I want to put you as a serial killer." You gotta be kidding me. It's like, all right, I mean, I'll do it, but
you're like, don't see you as the thing that you've done. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Apparently, I was not good at my job, is what most people think.
Hey, you could go. That's the true undercover detective, though. You're like, actually, that's true. I'm a serial killer in theory.
Another life.
Yeah, in another world. Yeah, no, that's good.
All right, gentlemen, we've got to call this, especially because I think he's about to start burgering down.
Yep.
All right, Eric, it's time we call this, brother. Hey, thank you so much for this again, and obviously we're going to be seeing you again. I'm sure of that. I can't hear you now, but
you should be able to hear me, right?
Yeah, we heard him. We got him. Yep.
Yeah, I was saying Valhalla. I was doing the I thought you could hear me. My bad. So I was trying to do the old.
Hey, no, that's cool. And we got your brother coming here. I bet we're just manifesting it, but I think he's coming on.
He'll totally come on, dude, man. He'll tell you how he met Tom Cruise, and Top Gun was filmed on the base he was at in San Diego. So he'll tell you some of that stories, and he's got some sad stuff too. When he lost a partner that was going to a scene where another cop was killed, and his partner was on a motorcycle and got run. It was just one of those horrible. Like, we all got it. We all freaking got it, and that's why we try to get together and do this, right? I mean, just get it off our chest, a little bit at a time,
Excellent.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right,
Well, thank
gentlemen.
you all. Yeah, appreciate
Great
you.
night. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. Willie, why don't you end it out for us?
Yeah. All right. So the last thing I would just say is if you're thinking about talking to somebody, just do it. You're a risk taker, go for it. What's the worst that can happen is that you meet somebody that you ghost later. So I think you know what I'm talking about. Just reach out, Copline. We've already got some links and stuff to our YouTube posts. There's some resources. And if you have resources also that you want to share, send us this message. We'll get those things out there. I mean, we're better when we're together. So if we can pull together on this and just make it easy for first responders to talk about what's going on in their life, and hopefully then we'll save a few. So we'll see you guys in the next couple weeks.
All
All
right.
right.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. Thank you, Eric.
All right,
Thank you,
man.
Eric.
All right, bye.
See you soon.